Okay, so now our rib is complete. We are actually going to double it over to the inside, and we're going to secure it all the way around to form a tube so that our ties can go in and out of these holes here. So originally I was going to slip stitch all the way around, but when I tried it, I had nothing really to slip stitch to along here. I was just sort of grabbing in the dark, and then I was trying to catch the back of the slip stitches that we originally did around the outside of the hood, but they're quite hard to get under, and it also made quite a bulky line around the inside. So I have decided that I'm going to sew it around, which I know will fill some of you with dread. So what I am going to do is thread up a yarn needle with a long piece of thread. I've gone really long, which I'm probably going to regret, because it's going to get really tangly, but I'm going to try and get around in a oneer. But you can just sew halfway and then attach a new piece of yarn and sew the other half, so you don't have to wrestle with quite such a long piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pin the rib to the inside, just for the first bit, just so I can make sure that my rib is not distorted and it's not sort of being pulled one way or the other. So I'm just going to just pin the first section. Okay, so I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to start in the center, and I'm going to just catch both sides. Let's zoom in a bit so you can see better, and I'm just going to pull it all the way to the end. If this gets way too long, I'll just cut a bit off and just tie a knot. And now I'm going to sew this way around my hood, but you can sew whichever way you like. So make sure you trap any ends underneath so that you don't have to deal with them. So I'm just going to catch a little bit of this side and the end of the row of my rib and just pull. Let's tuck that in. So I'm just going to, I'm not going to do like loads and loads of tiny stitches. I'm just going to catch the end sort of inside of my row, and then a bit of the end of my rib, and my end caught in there, and then just pull. And then you can see here, you can actually start to catch, because I've got to the end of the sort of middle section, you can actually catch the back of the slip stitches. So you can catch those and catch the end of your rib and just pull. So then you can just sort of use that as a guide as to how many stitches to do. So every time you see a new slip stitch or the back of a new slip stitch, you can just pull that through, and that will make sure that your rib is sort of covering all this messy bit on the inside. What you don't want to see is the floats peeking through. So catch the next back of the next slip stitch and the end of your rib, and just pull. So I've got a float there, so I need to make sure that's caught in the inside. So catch that slip stitch, make sure you don't get any of the pink, and catch under there, and then just pull. Take that pin out, so that's now in my way. So catch the next back of the slip stitch and the piece of rib directly opposite it, and pull, and then have I gone through it? Yeah, I've gone through that one. So that one there, and then you can see that that's nice and neat on the inside. You can't see any of the floats and you can't see any of the slip stitches. So just continue to do that all the way around the inside, making sure. I've got a naughty float here that's got caught on the inside, so what I'm going to try and do is just pull it across and hope no one will notice. I could cut it and weave it in, but I'm just a bit too lazy. So I'm just going to make sure I tuck that in as much as possible as I stitch up there. Okay, so that's the kind of needle I'm using, and I'm just catching the back of the slip stitches that you did when you slip stitch around the edge, and just catching a piece of the end of your rib and pulling and pulling. So it looks like that. Okay. So I've got all the way around my hood, back to the start, just about got enough yarn left. That's where I originally fastened on my yarn. So I've just got to go back across the center front of my neck. So I'm just going to catch what I can. So catch a bit of grey on that side, catch the end of my rib, pull through, catch the inside of my foundation double crochet stitches, and because it's all the same colour, you're not really going to see it, so just catch those two together until you are back to the start. And I'm going to tie that in a knot and snip those off, put them on my yarn needle and pass them through to the inside. I'm going to, now where is my hole? I'm just going to put my finger in the hole and try to pull the needle through there and cut those off. So that's my hood finished. Oh, it's so exciting. So it looks really neat, and you can't see any of the floats in the insides, all sewn under neatly.